This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
Brooks Running has a new shoe for you runners out there. Did you hear that? Better turn up your volume. In fact, turn it up to the max. Introducing the all-new Ghost Max. It's got all kinds of things to make your knees and ankles feel protected, like Max Cushion, Max Soft Landings with DNA Loft V2 foam, and Max Smooth Rides with their Glide Roll Rocker. Feel better on your run with Ghost Max. Learn more at brooksrunning.com.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple. Products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
All right, we're running a little late on time, so I'm just going to jump right into this. I have with me Coach Matt Potter from the Kansas City Current. And how are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well. It's a new year, so I'm excited with preseason around the corner to get started.
So you have a lot of new players coming in. You've got to be really excited about this coming year after how last year finished and the additions you have.
Well, excited to get started. Excited to see how we can kind of blend everybody together. Obviously, with some new faces, that's always the challenge every preseason. But the idea, obviously, is to build off of the successes of last season and get one more win.
I think it's breaking news right at the moment. You're going to have a new assistant coach, Caroline. How do you say this name? I can't do that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Coach Caroline.
Exactly, sweet Caroline. Caroline joins us. Really excited to have her experience. She's obviously had experience both domestically as a head coach and obviously on the international stage, and obviously came across some of the teams in my former role with US Soccer that she's been involved with too. So really excited to see how she can contribute to the staff, obviously complement the staff that we have, and see how she can help our players on a day-to-day basis grow.
She can also help you translate for your new forward, Mimi Larson.
Yes, yeah, I guess. So, yeah, Mimi will... You know, the one thing I've admired about a lot of the European players, even with Claire, is they speak such good English, and I always feel we're doing a disservice to them not to talk to them in their native tongues, but maybe that's a challenge for us all to start learning French and Swedish.
Yeah, I've been working on my Spanish, but that doesn't do much good for your team.
Well, you never say never.
All right, well, one of the questions I've actually been very curious about, because I'm always interested in people's journeys, and it's hard to do during the season and the little press conferences and interviews at the side of the field. But how did you go from a kid growing up in England playing soccer there to being in Kansas City?
Quite the journey. I left England at 22. I played football growing up, obviously, and was attached to a club, and fortunate enough to play for my country at youth level, but ultimately I wasn't good enough to make it as a professional. Got released and then ended up in college, playing semi-professional through college. But in 1992 I came to the States to work in some camps, the summer camps that a lot of people did back in those days. I think some people still do, but 1992 started a journey where at the end of the summer I was asked would I be interested in staying, and becoming a staff member for a company in New York. Said yes, and 30 plus years later, here we are with stops in Arizona, Washington, Oklahoma, and now Kansas.
What was your first head coach job?
Well, I coached a travel team in New York. So I was involved in the youth level there, and I also coached at the select level back east there. And then when I moved to Arizona, I was involved with club and the state program and the Olympic development programs, and then coached in junior college, and then obviously that took me to Division One, where I was also a regional coach involved with the regional staffs, and that's where I started the journey, around about 2010-ish, having some sense of a role with US Soccer as an assistant or a scout, and basically from there that led to, after my collegiate career, being involved with US Soccer on a full-time basis, which obviously very fortunate to have been in that position, and then now here.
I was interested. I saw you coach for like Scottsdale
Community College.
The
Artichokes.
Yeah, the Fighting Artichokes. That's between that and the Sooners, you've had a couple of the more interesting team nicknames.
Without a doubt. And Washington State was the Cougars, and so yeah, it's been a journey.
How much did each of those steps, inform the coach that you are now? And was there other coaches that you learned from and kind of molded you to the coach you are today?
Well, I think we're all shaped by our own experiences. Obviously for me as a player, I was exposed to some very talented coaches, and at the time, Graham Taylor, Tom Whalley, different personalities back in England that are quite prominent. Tom went on to work with Arsene Wenger at Arsenal, and Graham Taylor obviously coached with England. So between those people and their staffs, I was very fortunate to be around some very influential people and players, players I played alongside. So that obviously shapes you from your own experiences, and there's some things that you'll always do, and there's some things that you learn not to do. In my own journey, I feel I grew up, I was born in England, but really made in the States in terms of growing up and becoming an adult and having a professional career, and being able to, a teacher by trade, and being able to combine that with football was probably, that became a passion. And the different stops along the way, whether it be youth and club, whether it be ODP or state programs, whether it be national teams, whether it be college, I think they've all shaped and helped me mature to be the person I am now. So I'm very grateful for the journey I've had, because it's given me the kind of full context of what it is in the States. We've got you need to get a hold of yourself, Joe. But that's kind of shaped me. So all those experiences, I think, if you put them all together, that brings me to where I am today, and very in tune with who I am as a person, very in tune with who I am as a coach, and now just trying to create environments for people to thrive in.
You said you're a teacher and a coach. I see the type of coach that you are is as much teacher as anything else, because you from the outside looking in, you seem to be the person who's trying to help players mold into the player, the best that they can be, and things like that. How do you see that? Is that kind of a very similar role for you?
Yeah, I think experience has taught me that for now, for where I find myself now, it's about giving back, and how can I use my experiences to help people and meet them where they're at, whether it's a player, whether it's the club. And my job I see, and even staff, my job I see is to create the environments for people to thrive, and that's all those people. It's people within the organization, it's the staff that I get to work with on a day-to-day basis, and the players. And if we put all that together, then we'll have an opportunity to create some sense of an identity, which we talked about all last season, and that gives us the platform to move from. There's where we are currently and where we potentially see ourselves getting to, and our job is in the middle there. There's that gap, and how do we fill that gap? And that's our responsibility, and my responsibility is to try and keep the team and the performances moving forward.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
This episode is brought to you by Seed. Seed's DSO1 is a 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic designed for whole body health. Formulated with 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains, DSO1 offers benefits in and beyond the gut. See why DSO1 is the probiotic recommended by top doctors and nutritionists. Go to seed.com/Spotify for 25% off Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic.
Not exactly where I was going to go originally, but it just popped into my head. How many of your players do you see being future coaches? You know, which ones do you see being good future coaches? Because obviously the sport needs more female coaches to help the future of the sport.
Yeah, I've been very, very blessed through my whole career to come across some really good players, but also really good teachers. And a lot of them, even in their chosen fields, some have gone into coaching, whether it be their own children now or whether it be as a career. So in our current roster, yeah, there's definitely some inquisitive, people that some of them have a affinity for a part of the game, whether it's a high performance team member. Some are interested in the strength and conditioning, some are interested in the analyst work with Donna, some are interested in the medical side with Waffer and that group. So, but in terms of the actual coaching side, yeah, there's some players that are very in tune and ask questions, and I think that's what you're starting to see is there's a platform and an avenue for them to stay in the game, and opportunities in many pieces of the game and in many structures of clubs and so on and so forth, whether, like I said, be at the professional level, whether it be even in the academies, and the future seems to be leaning towards it. You're going to see that more and more within clubs, and so I think there's a whole group of players that want to stay attached to the game, and the exciting thing for them all is there's going to be opportunities that wherever their passion lies, they can influence the game for the better for the future.
Cool. I know we've talked a few times over the last season, and the word identity comes up. But anytime we would ask anything about formation or shape, you would always talk about we're more focused on the identity of the team. What word should I use better than if I was going to ask you, what were you trying to do in this moment, instead of saying a formation or shape? How should we ask you that question?
Well, the identity piece drives us. So, we had a clear way of trying to express ourselves in a game, and that had nothing to do with anybody else but ourselves. Obviously, we created structure and framework that allowed us to either exploit an opponent or be able to handle an opponent. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't go so well, but the reality is it allowed us then to focus on desired behavior, and that's where we've spent a lot of time. In our possession, there's the player on the ball, the player off of the ball, so on and so forth, but how can we structure ourselves in a way that we can progress, and how can we use the way we go about things to advance the ball? And our ultimate aim is to entertain, and if we can take the game to the opponent, that's going to fit the identity of the community. You look at the Chiefs now going into another playoff game, it's never dull to watch a Chiefs game, and Patrick leading the way, has no fear in how he goes about things, and he's always looking to go forward, and he's always looking to play on the front foot and make things happen. And that's how we're in tune with the identity of a community in terms of the sports teams, and that's how we want to be perceived in our chosen sport.
Kind of going back a little bit, because I read my questions out of order. That's okay. What position did you play? You were a midfielder, I would believe, when you were young. What position were you attacking, defensive, or?
No, I was a midfield player. Overall, probably more in line with what would be a 6 nowadays than a 10. But also played a little bit at fullback too. So.
Were you the destroying type of midfielder or the deep lying playmaker?
I was not afraid to help out others when they needed it, and I think one of my biggest gifts was my ability to understand my own limitations and then play within my strengths. And so yes, I was very much a passing ball winning player that then allowed the creative players to go work their magic.
I've always thought that the farther back on the field you are, the more likely you are to become a better coach. I mean, I know there's always exceptions and people will argue with me with that, but defenders, defensive midfielders, because they see so much more of the game, they have to think farther ahead of it's not just one moment. They have to think of the whole game. Is that, you think that's a fair statement?
Well, I think there's talent all over, and the reality is, for me, I can very much kind of picture what you're talking about, because I liken it to an orchestra and a conductor. The conductor, your job is to keep everybody in line, and your job is to keep things moving and keep things in sync, but you actually never play a note sometimes. So for me, I kind of vibe with what you're saying. And I think the pictures that you get to see, that talks to the experiences we talked about earlier. What shaped me to be who I am today? It's the playing experiences. It's the games that you were in, the levels that you've been exposed to. So put all that together, and here we are.
Yeah, and when I say farther back on the field, I exclude the goalies because they're usually a little too crazy.
I don't know about that. There's some good coaches out there that have come through over the years. So I think the game has evolved so much now that, like I said, if you're passionate about it and you put in the time and do the work, then you can find a niche anywhere. And whether it's a goalkeeper trying to become a coach, or whether it's a field player trying to become an athletic trainer, there's room to follow your passion.
All right, before we totally run out of time, I'm going to keep going until I get stopped, I guess. But that's the only way to play the game, right?
Exactly.
Like I said earlier, you made a lot of additions this offseason. Looking at the roster, it seems like it's over half midfielders by name at least. How do you get all these players time and make them happy, or how is that? It's going to be a difficult challenge, I would have to imagine.
I think first and foremost, I would applaud Cami as the GM and the group of people that she's got working in terms of identifying players that they feel that can fit the identity of who we're trying to be and how we're trying to play. The reality when you want to be one of the top teams, which is what we want to be, you have to have depth in your roster, and you have to have versatility in your roster to play in different ways and at different points in time in the game. One of the things that we did really well last year was there was a togetherness about the group, and that'll be important this year. Regardless of who's on the field, those are the ones that are representing us. Every season's going to bring up some things that are going to go well, and then some things that are going to challenge you. So we're going to be no different. But if we can stay together, if we can work hard and use that depth now to our advantage, then there won't be any scenario that we don't go into that we don't feel we can cope with. And if you feel like you can cope with things, and if we put ourselves physically in a good place, then you never have any fear. And if you play with no fear, then good things can happen.
I know that last year, and after the final, you ticked off all the players that they were able to bring off the bench. Do you feel like you have that same talent level now?
Well, even in the final, we felt we had talent, but we didn't have experience. Bringing Elise into the game, bringing Izzy into the game, talented players, and their best days are ahead of them, not behind them. But when you look over and Crystal Dunn's coming in, and Sugita from Japan, and Janine Becky, world-renowned players for all the right reasons, now we get to be in a different position where maybe we can bring in some of the players we brought in, or maybe we can bring in some of the players that have played a lot for us last year, and that experience is invaluable, because one of the things it'll be about is how we handle the environment and how we play at a certain period of time, irregardless of score. So now we've got options, and
a lot more options.
Yeah, we've got a lot more options, which is great for us and really confusing for an opponent to try and figure out. And so one of the things I think you highlighted last year is how fluid we were and what we tried to do, and we didn't get stuck on you must be and this must happen. Now we've got so many creative players and so many different ways to go about it, then that's going to make it even more difficult for our opponent.
And plus a batch of rookies coming in. You got to be kind of excited about them too. Michelle and Spanstra and all the rest of them.
Yeah, I think, again, I think that when you bring in new, it's about, there's two things. Change is change. It's just change. When you bring in new, then you've got to give them the time to find their way a little bit and get used to how we do things, and that's where our experience will come in. But also, they also bring an edginess that can push you in a new direction, and that's what I'm excited to find out. I'm excited to find out what we're actually working with and how we can best put the puzzle together to create a product that's great for the fans to come out and cheer on.
Cool. I'm getting the "we got to stop it" sign, but just any last words, Coach?
No, really looking forward to preseason and getting going again. I think the excitement you're expressing in the group is there for everybody to see. So I can't wait to work with them and start the journey, and we're really looking forward to putting a product out there that everybody can be proud of.
Excellent. Appreciate the time, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.